Greetings everyone. Today I would like to continue my review on Marco Polo series, and today I'm going to talk about the episode number 2. So how I would rate the second episode. I have learned something about this show from a second episode. Yes, from this episode 1 and 2, that this is not historically accurate, meaning there will be no milk. So this show is not historically accurate. This show is a American flavor. There's this coffee, American flavor. So in order to taste this shiding American flavor, you must know that word shiding. Shiding means not shitting, it's magical. So in order to taste this magical American fantasy flavor, you need to says tear here. I guess you have to tear the American flag. Yeah. So so there's this coffee where you have to tear down American flag in order to taste the American flavor, and we usually think that Americans are very strange people who put their flags everywhere, and they even put the flag in their underwear. So this is very strange. So this is going to be shitting American flavor. So it seems this show, this show is fantasy. So I guess you can add more shit, more fantasy, something like that. So in my this previous video, in episode 1, I told you that this first this Marco Polo must meet a Mongolian, then must meet some Mongol court, and then what? So he should wait this for some time in the court in order to meet Holagu Han. This at that time of this journey of Polo, this this Mongolian actor, this the ruler of Karakorum, Erik Buk, is already dead. So they are bringing the dead person into this second episode. I thought, why not to bring another dead person, this Holagu Han. So the Holagu Han, this will meet the Polo. So Polo have to wait for Holagu Han in this court and must travel to this Hoblai Khan's court. My idea is that Holagu Han should give Polo a letter. This, please give this letter to this Hoblai Han. Yeah, something like that. So I think there should be a meeting of Holagu Han, and Holagu Han should be some bald dude with this little this mustache. Speaking of hairstyle, the reason why I'm like wearing this hat, it is because I shaved my head, and I'm having this dictator like this North Korean Kim like hairstyle, and I was, I guess, pranked by my wife. My wife said, this, if you cut this hair very short and stuff, you should become more desirable, something for me, something like that. But when I this came with this this dictator hairstyle, she said, I miss the old one with the longer hair. Damn. So yeah, I think in second episode, this Marco Polo should wait for Holago Hang, and when Holago Hang enters the this room, everyone is bowing and everyone is trembling because you all know that Holago Hang is burning everything in the Middle East. He's burning the Baghdad, and he's he's trying to conquer the Muslim world. So he must bow to this great Holago Hang because everything you see belongs to this bald man. So Holago Hang should ask for this Pope's letter. Give me the Pope's letter, and of course this Marco Polo should have to give it to him. And of course Holago Hang will not open the letter. Maybe this add his letter and give it back, something like that. So spoilers, what this second this episode is about. And I rate this second episode with the 5 stars because I noticed that this is a fiction, this is a fantasy, so I'm giving all 5 stars to this second episode because the second episode was great because of 2 deaths. These deaths. I'm not a big fan of this death and stuff, but the story of this death is like very, good, I think. The second episode was very good. So he meets this little Muslim guy who collects the taxes, and this guy is quite flexible in collecting his taxes. Sometimes he takes coins, sometimes he takes this cotton, sometimes he takes all kinds of these products, because of not everyone can pay their taxes in the copper coins. So everything seems to be like okay, and dude takes the this product and sells it and makes it into a coin, and he has to he raises some profit from the tax of a great Khan for himself. And this is a this is like a mouse doing little robbery, something like that. So then he meets some kind of a blue princess. I wonder what kind of title is this, Blue Princess. I never heard the title Blue Princess. So second, he is commanded to go to this Karakorum to meet this Erk Boki. This is a 3-week journey, so it's not a not easy trip. I guess you must cross the Gobi Desert on a horseback. So he is together with the this Hoble Han's son, and somehow I I have this bad feeling about this pretty looking guy. He seems to be so, Justin Bieber like in this show. Everyone I guess you people do not hate this handsome guy. So I have written, notice the Mongol accent. Yeah, our Mongolian, this hero, or this actor had some Mongolian accent. Of course, I'm having a Mongolian accent too, but in general, Mongolian accent is like, sorry. You know this type of accent. You shitty bastards. I don't know. I guess I had a very bad accent back in a few years ago. So this can be the reason I may remove 1 star from this show. They went to the city of Genghis Khan, the Karakorum, the capital of Mongol Empire, and you see some yurts, you see some gears, and that's all. That's all. This is, this shocking. The city of Genghis Khan, the Karakorum, should have Christian temples, Buddhist temples, monasteries, Muslim, how they call them, these Muslim temples. So it also should have, this is a Mongolian currency, 10,000 Turks. It should have this silver tree. There's a big silver tree built, and when there's a party, there's 4 types of sweet juice is pouring: milk, alcohol, honey. What else? Milk, alcohol, honey. Something, I guess, fruit juice or something like that. There should be 4, this. No, the picture seems to have, this five types of these drinks. So you see, if this Marco Polo goes to this Karakorum, this city, he should represent the Hoblai Han, in my opinion. The reason why someone is summoned to this Karakorum is because of Horolte, or because of the gathering of the Khans. So it is risky for Hoblai Han to send his son, because they can capture his son and this make him this some kind of prisoner. So this Hoblai Han can order Marco Polo, who stayed in his court for some time, maybe months, to represent him, because this Marco Polo somehow special. In my previous video, I told you that there is a lot of these foreigners in Hoblai Han's empire, and white man is not a big this specialty. I mean, there is a lot of white man's this face in this empire. Simply, Marco Polo is important, maybe because he is the messenger from Pope. Same time, he is a messenger from Holago. Holago is a big friend of Hoblai Han. He is he wants Hoblai Han's this military aid. He wants troops from Hoblai Han, because Hoblai Han has a massive population. He wants all the gunpowder in order to conquer the Middle East. So Holago became this ally of Hoblai Han. So in his letter, Holago will say that we are the most active Khans. We should rule. We should have this title, Great Khan. And this election of our grandfather Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan has this law to all the this lords must somehow vote for someone to become a great Khan. So this is some kind of democracy, and we do not need any democracy, something like that. So Hoblai Han is a dictator. Holago Han is also this active dictator. So Polo is going to represent this dictator, and I noticed that they are depicting the Queen Chabi being quite evil, and she is like manipulating the Hoblai Han, and I can understand that, because if this Hoblai Han this die, her position will will be gone, and if it's a civil war and Hoblai loses, she might lose her life. So this, she might lose her children, everything and stuff, horrible stuff. So if she finds this Erkbuche as enemy, she must urge her husband to be a little bit harsh on him, or be vigilant about him, something like that. So so this is this Karakorum. This is a city of Genghis Khan. There should be this wonders of the past. Genghis Khan this went and captured some statues, all this stuff, and this somewhat this multiculturalist this citizens are living in the this Karakorum, and maybe this everyone is melting iron and this hammering swords and preparing for war, something like that. But in this this episode, Polo just looks at horses. Yeah, there's nothing to do in the Karakorum, so that you just look at the horses and say, magnificent beast. This is this horrible. And I also wrote here, I'm okay with the racist Khan. So they depicted this an Erkbuki Khan as being this xenophobic, saying that this Hoblai Han's this court is full of foreigners, and he needs to be like this be away from the foreigners, and what with this Christian this Polo, etc., etc. But the history says that Erkbuki was in favor of Christianity. He's a traditional. He is the worshipper of the Tengri, of course, the sky. But he is in favor of Christianity. Hoblai Han is in favor of Tibetan Buddhism. When Mongolian lords became Tibetan Buddhists, you will notice that Christianity is gone. Nothing. So maybe some of the this Christian this maybe elements are in the religion of commoners, the dark religion maybe. So of course there should be a lot of things to do in the Karakorum. You should have a party, drinking party under this silver tree. Maybe you could witness some, since it is a fantasy, you could witness some, this bendy ladies, or this contortionists, something like that, Mongolian, this almost naked, this woman is like, this bending, and this everyone is like this, and this. Since it's a holiday, there can this voting. This is somewhat complicated, because some queens have some right to vote. So there's a lot of this this wives of the dead Khans. So they are waiting, this voting for this Erkbuki, and somehow Marco Polo must this give them a present of a Hoblai Han, this maybe wooden boxes full of silver, in order to take their this gain their vote, something like that. And of course this Marco Polo should go with some woman. I mean, after you become this somewhat this important in how to say Hoblai Khan's court, at least you should have some servant. So I guess according to some Eastern traditions, Marco Polo can be given a woman, or a woman that represents the Queen Chabi is traveling with Marco Polo, and of course this can lead to some dirty and sugary scenes. So what's next? There was some training in Chinese martial arts because of coming of war. I'm pretty okay with that. Emperor of Song dies, a new king is a baby. I guess this is not so important event. The very important event was this. The finance minister somewhat questioned the Marco Polo and found out that this tax collector is cheating or stealing, and he has to put him this to a death. And I found that this how to say scene quite interesting or very smart. The arm shaking. The arm shaking was wrong. The arm shaking is basically you are holding the this. You're like holding each other like this, and there can be like some kissing and stuff. This. I guess I will put some video in description below how these Mongolians and how these Kyrgyz people this greet each other, something like that. So the final scene where Hoblai Han this calls for a duel, and this cuts down the Erkbuche was somewhat this romantic scene, and there was no this brother bloodshed. But I fear in a real history, this when Erkbuch was defeated, I guess almost all his the children or family and stuff was put to death also, in order to cut this someone this claim that the rightful this ruler was from a Erkbuch's line, something like that. Well, I guess that's pretty much for today, and please comment if you want me to continue with this series, or is it just a waste of time? Is it boring? Well, let me taste this American flavor. I don't know what I'm this tasting. Is it this healthy for this for long time use? It's made in this foreign country, and it's this imported. Well, tastes average. It's better to this make your own coffee. This tastes a little bit weak. This second episode wasn't weak, I guess. Well, that's pretty much for today, and thanks for watching.